If you take one thing from my videos, it's this. Do not spend the $1 bills in this video because they sold for a lot of money. Without wasting any more time, let's just hop into this video. Let's take this 1981 $1 bill, for example, that sold for $5,280. So the back of the bill is fine. Nothing's going on here, but if you flip it over, you can see the second print is doubled. Now I'm going to give you a brief rundown of the printing process. So essentially the back of the bill is the first print. Now the front of the bill is the second print that you see that is doubled here, and the third print is the overprint, which is not doubled on the front. This is a great example of the difference between the second and third print here. So if you have a bill that has a doubled print like this, you could have a bill worth a lot of money, but be careful because there are people out there that will try to replicate this with their printer to try to scam people. So be very careful out there. But let's hop into the next note. This bill sold for $2,400, and here's why. So this 1977A $1 bill was graded by PMG a 64 EPQ. EPQ means exceptional paper quality, and the highest grade we can get is 70. Essentially, this was a Natick test paper note. Pretty much, this is an experimental paper designed for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to test the durability and how well they would handle in circulation. A long story short, they did not do very well, and they ended up not going with this Natick test paper. But essentially, the way you can tell if you have one of these notes is by the serial number range. It will be starting with the prefix of an E and serial number 76,000,001 all the way through E 80,640,000 H. If your bill is in between that range, you have a Natick test paper note. And also you want to look out to see if you have a mule note. So pretty much if you look at the back plate number, this is essentially the position of where this specific bill was on the plate. There's a small little number. If you compare that to the size of the front plate number, they should be two different sizes. The reason for this is because the back of this bill should not have been printed on the front of this bill. There's a lot of internal bookkeeping that the Bureau does to see which back plate should go on which fronts, and essentially this should have never happened, which means this is a mule note. As you can see, PMG designates it as a mule note, and this bill sold for $2,400. I'll spend just 15 seconds here, but this one sold for $99,875. Essentially what this is yes, it's a genuine bill. This is a silver certificate blue seal note. What you need to know is back in the day, you could have taken this $1 bill to a local bank and gotten $1 back worth of silver. That's why they're called silver certificates. Nowadays, you can't do that, but yes, technically, this bill is still worth a face value of $1. The reason it sold for so much money is because it's a 1928D. This is a tough date to find, especially with a star at the start of the serial number like this one, and the grade being so high. That's why this bill sold for $99,875. So here we go. This bill sold for $4,200, and here's why. First of all, the grade's really high, but the main reason why this 1988 bill sold for so much money is because this is a web note. Not only is it a web note, but it's also a star note, but more on that in a second. So pretty much what you need to know is that there are three indicators to see if you have a web note. If you have any one of these three, you have all three indicators, which means you have a web note. So what you want to look at is Washington's portrait. On a web note, they're going to be pretty washed out. And by the way, what a web note really is the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. They wanted to see if this new method of printing was faster, which essentially is the same way they produced newspaper sheets. It was in one continuous roll. What ended up happening was there was tons of mistakes, so they scrapped the process, but there's really not that many out there that are web notes like this. The second way is the front plate number. Now, typically on most bills, you're going to see a front plate number that also has a front plate letter. That is very normal. Now on web notes, there's only a number. There's no letter there. Now the last and easiest way is the back plate number, which is to the right of In God We Trust. Typically, the location on the back is in the bottom right area. So that's how you know you have a web note. Now, last thing I'll say on this is the fact that it's a star note. As I was saying before, web notes had a ton of mistakes, which caused there to be star notes. Essentially, if there's a mistake on a sheet of bills, or a roll of bills in this case, a quality control manager will strike out the sheet with some sort of marker, and that sheet will typically get destroyed, and they will produce a new sheet with a star at the end. Now, the less mistakes there are on a specific run means there are less star notes, which means more demand, less supply, and overall going to be worth more money. Just like this bill that sold for $4,200. Won't spend too much time here, but you can see this bill went out into circulation. It was graded by PMG a net 35. It even had a tear in it that got a tape repair. So someone thought it was a good idea to put some tape on their bill. I highly recommend against that. That would just decrease the value of the bill. But the main reason why this bill sold for so much money is because this is a serial number 1 bill. If you ever find a serial number 1, you've hit the jackpot because this note sold for $1,920. Now, if it was in better condition, it would have brought a whole lot more money. money than $1,920. So this is pretty cool. So this bill sold for $2,040, and here's why. So this is a 1974 $1 Federal Reserve note that is a specimen bill. So I'll keep this brief, but essentially the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced specimen notes to give out to banks around the world that accept US federal currency, and they have specimen notes on hand to compare to bills that customers give them to make sure they're accepting genuine bills. Now these were never meant to get into collectors' hands, but one thing led to another, as you can see here, and a collector probably bribed someone to sell them one of these notes. But just imagine being able to turn $1 into $2,040. This bill sold for $24,000, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but we remember what a web note is, right? So a web note is going to have Washington's face there, is going to be a bit washed out. You're going to have the front plate number that only has a number, not a letter, and the back plate number is going to be to the right of In God We Trust. But the main reason why this bill sold for so much money is because I want you to leave a comment down below, let me know why, but I'll tell you in 2 seconds. So pause the video and leave a comment below really quick, but this is exactly why right here. Tell me if you can spot the difference. So essentially in the serial number, you have a prefix, which is the F, then you have the suffix, which is the L, and also the star. So pretty much this has 2 suffixes, or what collectors call a mismatched suffix error, where one of the suffixes is a star and the other one is an L. That's one of the main reasons why this bill sold for $24,000. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen, and I'll see you in there.